In the beginning of the story, we see some people enjoying themselves on the beach. There is also a boy named Doug who has come to celebrate the holiday with his parents and is reading a book. After a while, he looks out of his car to see the view of the seashore. After some time, those people reached their lake house and took down their belongings. Here we see that there are many boats standing on the shore. Doug goes there and meets a friend who tells him that there are lots of girls here this time and they can have a lot of fun. He says this time it's going to be hot or fun. After this, they go to a bar, where a man comes and removes the strings of the instrument, which stops the musicians, and people get angry. But soon the man starts playing guitar with a band and is well liked by the people. Doug's friend makes him wear an apron and says that now summer has started. Doug then arrives at his house and calls out to say that he is home, but finds that no one is home. He goes to his room and starts looking at some pictures. When he looks out the window, he sees a couple who have come there. Their names are Elite and Lena. Doug is seeing Lena, who is very beautiful. He is continuously watching her, but soon they go inside the house. Doug still tries to look at Lena, and as soon as Lena looks at him, he gets scared and moves away from the window so Lena can't see him. Now, after this, Doug takes his bicycle to see her, deliberately starts repairing it, and sees Lena bending over to brush the dust off her shoes. Doug then goes to his friends, and they talk about girls again. After this, they take a mat and go inside an old boat, from which they hear someone laughing. Doug then returns to the house and finds new neighbors, Doug's father, who invites him to meet the new neighbors, who happen to be Elite and Lena. Doug visits them, and Elite talks to Doug. Elite says that Doug's father told him that he knows a lot about the boat. He asks Doug to work on his boat, and they will hire him to do it, where he will get more money than mowing. The next day, Doug goes to Elite's boat, and there he sees Lena coming out swimming. Lena then goes to take a shower, and Doug is watching her. Lena takes off her clothes, and Doug is still watching her. Then Elite comes there and asks, "How is the boat?" Then he says that there has been some cosmetic damage to the boat. Elite says he's going out for a few days, and then they talk about paying Doug, and Doug says he'll take $12 for the job, but Elite says he'll give him $20. Later in the night, Doug looks back at his neighbors' houses, and Lena is changing in her room when Elite walks in and begins to force himself on Lena, causing Doug to turn away. The very next day, Elite is passing in front of Lake from his car, but then a guard comes there and asks to show his ID card. Elite shows his card. Then Doug comes there and says that this guard is a bit harsh. Elite says he likes it. Doug and Elite are then on a boat. Doug asks Elite how he got to fame, and Elite says that it is all a wonder of money and personality. The scene then changes to Doug watching Lena walk out of her bedroom window. After a while, he hears Lena's screams, and he runs to her. He sees Lena standing outside the car, scared. She was scared to see a spider in the car. Doug retrieves the spider from the car and crushes it to death. He then fixes the car, and meanwhile, Lena comes very close to him, which makes him nervous. He tells his friend about this, and his friend tells him to stay away from them as he finds Elite dangerous. When Doug comes home from work, he sees Lena sitting outside. He goes to Lena, and Lena tells him that she has lost her house key, so she is outside and needs Doug's help to get inside. She tells Doug not to tell anyone about this, as her husband has asked her to take care of her. Then suddenly it starts raining, and Lena tells Doug to break the window with a stone so he can go in and open the door, and Doug obeys and goes inside and somehow opens the door. Lena then invites him and asks him to have a drink with her. They start talking, and Lena says that Doug is hurt. Lena starts cleaning his wound and says in a sedated voice that he will be fine. Doug then kisses her and apologizes to her. It was not a good kiss, but Lena is not bothered by it. She asks him to try again. They kiss each other, and Lena begins to take off her clothes with Doug helping her, and they become intimate. The next day, they wake up together in bed. Lena says that Doug was very good at building relationships. She asks, has he ever been with any girl before? Doug then jokes that he's in a relationship for the third time. After this, Lena lies down next to him. Sometime later, Doug goes home and is smiling. He is getting happy, remembering the moment he spent with Lena. He then goes to his friends, and his friend reveals that Doug accidentally called him the night before. His friend showed him the voice, which was the voice of Doug while he was having sex with Lena. After this, his friend points towards some girls and says that he can build a relationship with them, but Doug ignores his words. After this, Doug keeps an eye on Lena for a few days and starts doing workouts for her. One day he is working on the boat when Lena comes there and says that a lead has sent her to see Doug's work. They go inside the boat, and Lena asks him to pull down the curtains. Doug closes the curtain, and Lena starts flirting with him and taking off her clothes. They both kiss each other and get physical. That night, Doug happened to be working at the bar, and then Lena came there with her husband. Doug looked at her, but then his friend stood behind him and showed him some girls, and looking at them, he said he had a feeling that something good was going to happen tonight. The next day, Doug was going somewhere on his bicycle. Then he sees that a lead has stopped at a shop. He also stops and goes inside that shop. He and Lena then went out the back door of the shop and started kissing, and then they had sex. But meanwhile, a lead is coming that way looking for Lena. Seeing him coming, they stop, and Lena kisses him and goes back. After some time, Elite sees the boat Doug was working on and says that it is not working properly. He then gives a speech to Doug, saying that seeing him reminds him of his days. Doug works very hard, and that's why he's giving him so much work. He says he's going out of town for a few days, and Doug takes advantage of this to visit Lena. Then he and Lena had a picnic in bed. After they have some intimate talk, Lena gives him a phone and says that Elite is a very angry and dangerous person. So this phone will help them talk. After this, Doug ran to the kitchen, and Lena also followed him, but their gardener sees them from outside the window. After a while, Doug walks towards the boat and sees that Elite is standing on it. He fearfully walks to the boat and sees Lena with Elite, asking Doug to untie the boat and lower it into the water to see if the boat is seaworthy. While riding a boat, Elite is about to be hit by the beam, but somehow manages to bend over and save himself. Here Doug gives Elite some advice on women, and Elliot asks him if he has a girlfriend, to which Doug says yes, he does. Suddenly, the boat's engine stops, and Elite goes to check on it. After which, Lena takes some time to tell Doug that she is thinking of divorcing Elite. Elite then comes up and asks Doug to fix the boat. That night, Lena calls Doug and is crying. Lena tells him that Elite has hit her hard, and now he has gone out on business. He then immediately goes to the hospital and tells her that she should tell the police, but Lena stops him, and they go home. After this, he is working until the next day, when he gets a call from Lena, who was sunbathing on the banks of the lake. She invites Doug over to her, and they both have sex in an old boat. Lena tells him that she feels free with him. She also talks about Elite and his first wife and says that they are still stuck in the court case. Doug's friend then tries to find out about Doug's actions, saying that he has found a girl for him, but Doug ignores his words. He then comes back home and sees that Elite is back. Sometime later, he gets a call from Lena, and he immediately goes to his room and talks to Lena, who is standing behind him. She asks him to come with her immediately, as she needs Doug. He then immediately goes to her house, where he learns that Lena and Elliot had a fight, and Lena, in order to save herself, hit a light on the head, killing a light. She then asks Doug to help her, as she doesn't want to get into any trouble. She asks, what can Doug do in this? Doug says that they will find a way out and that they will have to behave just as normal as before. After that, he went to work in a bar, and when he came back, he found Lena with his parents. Awkward conversations happen between them, and Doug retires to his room. That night, Doug visits Lena at her house, and Lena apologizes to him and says that she could not stay at home, so she went to visit his parents. Doug says that they can make it an accident, but Lena says that this excuse will not work, so Doug comes up with a new plan and tells Lena to say that when the police ask her, she and Elite had a fight between them, and after that, Elite left. After saying this, Doug takes Elite's body and goes to his boat, but before he could leave, the guards saw him and called him Mr. Harper. Doug acts like an Elite and leaves with the boat. The next morning, the police action starts, and they think it is all an accident. After this, the police came to Lena's house to inquire. Doug sees Lena talking to the police. Doug had hit Elite over the head with a beam while on the boat that night and then set the boat on fire with alcohol and cigarettes, making it look like an accident. Doug resumes his normal life and continues working at the bar, where he is pouring drinks to some policemen who are talking about the same incident. After this, a woman is shown driving. The woman who is coming to the city goes to meet the police. There, she tells the police that Elite Trust is taking this matter very seriously, as Elite has life insurance, the cost of which is huge, and this money is going to be given to Lena. That's why every aspect related to this matter is being investigated. To know what happened in the incident, the woman calls Lena for questioning and asks if she is having an affair with someone. Lena says that she is not having an affair with anyone. Lena is upset by the woman's questions and leaves, while the police continue their investigation and question the guard who saw Doug the night before. The police then talk to Doug's father. Doug asks the guard what he suspects, and the guard tells him that the person he saw last night may be someone other than Elite. After this, the insurance agent goes to Lena's house and checks the crime scene, so that she can get some proof. She finds the broken window that Doug broke to help Lena. Then agent went to Doug's house and asked his parents about the day Lena visited them. Doug's parents reveal that Lena came to visit Doug. Doug overhears all this and panics. He calls Lena but cuts the call when he sees his parents coming in the car. After that, they go to the police station, where the agent asks him some questions and tries to get the truth out of his mouth. But Doug's mother tells them that she will not let Doug get caught in this case. Doug then got Lena's message, and she says that she wants to meet him in the old boat. Doug goes there, and Lena tells him that they will have to stay away from each other for a few days. After saying this, she leaves from there. Doug returns to his home and sees a team of agents arriving. He tells the agents she needs Doug's fingerprints and saliva. They put Doug in the police car, and the agent starts questioning him again. But Doug tells him nothing. Doug tells his friend and parents about the whole incident. Meanwhile, the police find a match with the blood sample that the agent had given them. Doug tries desperately to prove his innocence but is thwarted each time by Lena. Doug somehow escapes from there with his bicycle and goes to the wharf, where he gets Lena. As soon as he gets there, Lena tears her clothes off and tries to pretend to be crying for help, like Doug trying to rape her. The police go there and arrest Doug. Doug tells the police that the men know him and that he wants to do something to clear the charges against him. A police officer lets him go, and Doug goes to pick up Lena's model cell phone. But just as he gets the cell phone, Lena shows up, and so does the agent. Doug tells the agent that the phone contains proof of his innocence. After this, both women are going out. Doug then notices the agent's leg, which bears the same tattoo as Lena's. He starts remembering everything and explains to him that he was a pawn in this big game. At first, it looks like Lena will leave Doug, but Lena, out of love, decides to leave her cell phone, which is proof of his innocence. The two women then take Alight's insurance money and board a flight.